Good morning, Thursday, October 29th, 2015. Welcome to Law Library TV, Ask Sean Callagy. I'm Sean Callagy. Tough night for the Mets last night. Our man DeGrom got beat, but Friday night with Thor on the hill, we're going to bounce back and get this thing going in the right direction. Today, we're going to talk about this concept. If you don't see this in your attorney, then run for the hills. So what are we talking about? Well, I would also suggest that you bop on over to our Why Not video for today. This is the video that explains the core philosophy of producing all results in life and producing results in a lawsuit or in a transaction, or for your client giving them consulting advice, is the exact same thing that we're talking about in that Why Not video. So watch that video. Check it out on Callagy Law Facebook, Why Not's video, episode number 6 from today, October 29, 2015. Check it out. 16 minutes long. It is worth watching the entire video. It could be completely life-altering in terms of how you produce results in your life and even how you approach your attorney, or for our attorneys out there, how you approach your cases. So here's the deal. There's two worlds. There's the world of living at cause, and there's the world of living at effect. If you're handling a lawsuit, and we'll explain those terminology through some examples and really nail it down in the 5 minutes or less in this video. If you see your attorney in a place where they care more about getting along with the adversary, or they care more about pleasing the judge than they do about protecting your rights and interests, run for the hills. And that is what we talk about when we look at the concept of being aggressive in the law. It really means that you're being at cause. And let me be very careful not to confuse you. I didn't say that your attorney should fight with the judge. I didn't even say that your attorney's goal should be to fight with the adversary. In fact, the primary goal is to get along with the adversary, because until you reach an agreement, you can't settle a case. And obviously, the judge is the person making a lot of important decisions in the case. You want to be in a place where you're getting along with the judge. However, there are some adversaries that are incredibly unreasonable to deal with and even dishonest. And there are judges that make mistakes. And if judges didn't make mistakes, there wouldn't be an appellate court. But short of getting to the appellate court, it's our job as attorneys to try to educate the judge in a different way. And let's remember, and we've talked about this in an earlier episode, how judges are rated. Judges are rated on how quickly they move their docket. They are completely unreasonably overwhelmed with the amount of work that they have to do, right? So they have law clerks that are reading things, they're getting involved, and they are stressed, frustrated, overwhelmed, in different ways in processing cases. Okay, it's a very commonly understood principle in the law. Our job, your attorney's job, right? Our job as attorneys, for those that are watching, are to make sure that we're articulating and challenging that process to make our issues stand out and to be resolved in an appropriate way, as opposed to letting that process of overwhelm and frustration just let us be swept up in the mix. Judges hear all the time, it's their fault, they're bad, they're making mistakes. They are anesthetized that process. So we have to do something to shift and change that, if that's what's really going on. Let's say that there are adversaries and there are other clients that are lying, right? It's not uncommon at all. But how do we get the judge to understand that in this case, it's not simply hyperbole, that it's actually occurring? And that's by being aggressive and committed to being at cause and influencing the outcome. And in some cases, at first, the judges may get frustrated and upset. The judges may simply try to push us back into the pile with everyone else. It's our job as attorneys to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, for you as the client, that may not look exactly like you would hope it is. If the judge is making a mistake, it's probably not a really good idea for a lawyer to go, "Judge, you're wrong." That's not going to do a whole lot of good for anyone. There's an appropriate level of ethical respect that has to happen for the judiciary that your attorney is expected to uphold. And if that happens, he may alienate the judge in a significant way. And yes, judges are charged with the mission of dispassionately applying the law, but they're human beings, right? So if they're offended, they're put off, those things, I don't care what anybody says, of course can bleed into judicial decision making, because they're human. Now, the greatest, most perfect judges in the world may be able to put that aside in every case, but it may even affect how deeply they look into the case or how they're perceiving the information that you're giving them. So here's the key. The key is, do you feel like your attorney is backed up in any way by something the judge says or an adversary says? Do you feel like their primary goal is to protect themselves and their reputation and how they get along with an adversary, as opposed to protecting your interests. And it doesn't mean they should be doing anything you want. And it doesn't mean that they should be being dishonest in some way for you. And it also doesn't mean that they should be unreasonably insane and aggressive and starting battles and fights with the adversary. What it means is they should be there to protect your interests. And they should be able to explain and articulate why they're doing everything for you. And if you don't feel like that's landing congruently on your head and your heart, where it feels like, yeah, I get that, and that's right. If that's not what you feel, then you're not in the right place. And you're not, if you're consulting with someone, or even if you're working with someone, then you have to ask the questions more deeply and get answers that make you feel certain that you understand where you're going and why you're going there. This is Law Library TV with Ask Sean Callagy. Please tune in, spread the word. We're here to help you understand the legal process, and for our attorneys out there, help you get better as well. I get better every day by talking about these principles. Have an awesome Thursday. Let's go Mets tomorrow night. Have a great day.